your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good thing to say, I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Facebook, even Twitch sometimes. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe on YouTube. I don't know if you can like and subscribe on Rumble. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you're able to. Just click buttons until everything works out. Hi guys. I'm so excited to have our guest today. It's been a while since I've had her on. Before I bring her on to the stage, I feel like I work at a strip club. Before she comes to the stage, trying to make money to feed her kids. No. I got a couple comedy shows coming up. I'll be headlining in Tampa in just a few short weeks. Sunday, December 3rd, I'll be headlining the Side Splitters Comedy Club out in Tampa. I love Tampa. A lot of very fun people live in Tampa. A lot of kooky cats. A lot of kinky broads live in Tampa. You know who you are. Oh, I just kicked over a box of receipts. Then I'll be in San Diego first weekend of the New Year, Friday, January 5th and Saturday, January 6th at the Mic Drop Comedy Club in San Diego. I love this club. Really good times. So come on out, get your tickets at ChrissieMayr.com and I'll make you laugh. I do have an orange glow. I don't know what's going on with my settings. Maybe it's just my pregnancy glow. Maybe I'm going to give birth to a pumpkin. Who knows? Okay. My guest today, she is a longtime friend. She is the host of Deprogrammed. She is a former brainwashed liberal like me, and now we're perfect. Welcome back to the show, Keri Smith.
Chrissie, it has been a long time. I'm so happy to get to see you again. And you have a glow.
It's definitely the lights, because one light is kind of orangey. I don't know. I got to redo something.
Well, you look lovely.
Chuck, so do you. Yeah, the last time I saw you was I in? I think it was when I was in Austin briefly, or was it Houston?
Somewhere in Texas, yeah.
Yeah.
It may have been when we shot guns.
Yeah, or was it when I did Drinking Bros? And I was like, I have to go do Drinking Bros. You and Lila just hang out at the hotel pool.
That was it.
Oh, and I was like, the whole time I was like, I'm happy to do. I love the Drinking Bros guys. I love going on their show, but I was like so annoyed. I was like, I get to go in the pool. I want to go in the pool.
Yeah, we just relaxed. We had a good time, a good lady day while you were working.
A lady day is good. Sometimes I feel like every adult has those moments where they're fighting what the inner child wants to do versus like what the adult in them tells them they need to do. And that's just all of adulthood, basically, I've learned. So, Keri was on You're Flushed from Making Soup. What kind of soup were you making?
First of all, last night I made homemade chicken bone broth from chicken bones that I'd been saving in the freezer. So I had to make that overnight. And then I pre-chopped all the veggies and stuff. And then tonight I just made the soup. I was rushing to make it before my husband got home. And so I'm flushed.
That sounds arduous.
Actually, no, the bone broth, it just cooks overnight in a slow cooker. You just take the bones, you cook them in the oven. Yeah, it's stocks, says Russell. You cook them in the oven for a while on high heat, and then you put them in with some filtered water. You put them in the slow cooker for like 8 hours overnight. And then you drain out all the bones. You take all the yummy broth. And so then the soup's easy. You just throw in the veggies and stuff.
Okay, good. So it's not like you're boiling a live lobster sort of a thing, like you're throwing in a live chicken and
I wouldn't
boiling
know
it
how to do
till
that.
broth
No.
appears. That's how I
No.
imagine chicken broth is made. You boil a live chicken and then you compress it into little squares, bouillon squares.
I don't know. But you know what? Out here in the boonies in the country, people do like my grandparents used to. Young people even. The girl at who works at my favorite coffee shop, she kills and dresses her own chickens. And I'm like, okay, I have to learn this eventually, I feel like, just to be prepared.
Whoa.
I never learned it from my grandparents, and I wish I had, but no,
wish
I don't know how to do it.
I wish I had learned more stuff from my grandparents too. Like my family isn't really food culture based. Like it's Norwegian and German. So it's like the Norwegian side is eating like a lot of dried fish and the German side is just like fat shaming you, and then like you have maybe like chicken that's like pounded into submission, fried until it's like has low self-esteem, and then that's food basically. So it's a real paradigm shift to be now like submerged in an Italian family where everyone
Oh,
wants you to eat enough. And that
and
only gets cranked up when you're pregnant. It's like you're constantly getting trays of lasagna put in front of you like I'm Garfield.
nice.
It's
It
good
sounds
though.
terrible. I'm kidding.
I'm turning it into jokes slowly but surely. But that's cool. I do wish I had more skills from my grandparents.
Yeah.
All I
My
really
grand
all I
Go
remember from
ahead.
my grandpa is he was like a big Rush Limbaugh fan, and he was like it would be cool to talk to him now, because he was like I could tell he was like just very conservative and like probably classic Republican. It'd be cool to talk to him about stuff. He was like a very serious guy. My grandma was very religious. She had like 100 Bibles. She was always trying to stick a New Testament into my purse every time I came over. And like, but she just loved church. And it's
Was
like,
it those little Bibles, the ones that you share where it's the New Testament?
yeah, it's just a
Yeah, the
little
small
pamphlet,
ones,
just a little, just sneakable size.
I love
What
it.
were your grandparents like?
Well, they made a lot of things. They both, were factory workers. They worked at the mill, that's where they met, but then they both worked on a farm,
Oh my god.
and
That would
my
be like
grandma
meeting at the Amazon factory today or the Amazon warehouse.
at the warehouse, yeah. Then the mill closed down in our town, and, my grandma became a hairdresser, and, my papa was, a volunteer fireman. He was in the Army. He was in, um, Korea. He also I mean, they had their own farm with, horses, cows. They grew all their own food. My grandma canned everything.
Oh, that's
Like, she had an
badass.
entire building with enough canned peaches and beets and green beans and stuff,
Yes.
chow, stuff like that to last for generations. We had to get rid of a lot of
Wow,
that stuff eventually. But,
man.
yeah,
Did
she
that ever
made
go
quilts.
bad?
I think it can go bad. See, that's how little I know. And I would help her we had to help her snap beans and cut beans, but I didn't learn the actual process of what she did to can it. Um,
Yeah,
I
there's gotta be a little preservative thrown in there.
Yeah, at the top. But
Yeah.
she did that. She quilted. She did cross stitch. She did woodworking. She had a woodworking shop in the garage, and she would take old furniture and refurbish them and make furniture. And I mean, she did all kinds of things. And looking back, we spent so much time at her place when I was a kid, and I wasn't learning what I should have been learning.
No, I wish I was asking, like, real questions, like, "Tell me about the homeland, grandmama. Tell me about Norway."
Yeah.
The only thing she taught me to, like she was like, "Well, okay, I can tell you this. This is a line of Norwegian, um, s God, I can't even really remember it, but it was like, 'Are you wearing underwear?' was the line." And I was like, "When am I ever gonna need to say that?"
She probably thought it was funny.
She did. She thought she was hilarious, and then I'd always sit next to her in church, and like it was like a Methodist church, and so there'd be like little prayer like small papers, but I would just make drawings on the back, and I would draw like the pastor like just jumping off the roof of the church, and I just would hand it to her to see if she would pass it up, and she'd be like,
Did she have butterscotch in her purse? My grandma had butterscotch.
"Yes!"
Yeah.
And it's not real butterscotch until it's been at the bottom of your purse for many months.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, man, because when you're a kid, you're not thinking your grandparents are gonna die, and you're not thinking that they hold wisdom.
No. Our generation is just a little bit different. Although I think our generation is sort of Gen X. We're sort of detached from everything. A lot of us were latchkey kids or spent, in my case, after school with grandparents. Um, but now I think Gen X is starting to appreciate the greatest generation. You're not the first person I've talked to who's like, "Oh, I wish I had picked up more, and I'm trying to learn this." And I know lots of people who are picking up skills now. So,
Yeah, like, my brother's getting into he's getting really into, like, German, and he's making, like, these like, the Norwegian Krummkage things my grandma used to make, which are basically like pizzelles. Like, for Italian people, like, pizzelles, it's that, but it's like you make a flat little crispy cone waffle thing, you curl it, and then you fill it with, like, whipped cream or, like, handmade whipped cream.
oh,
Uh,
yummy.
yummy. Yeah, it's
We were
cool.
just I was just in Germany, so I was on,
Oh,
uh,
right.
yeah, my husband had a 5-week tour of, and his whole band came for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and started in Munich, and I got to go for the whole thing this time. It was
Cool.
amazing. So, it was my first time in Munich. Then we went to Switzerland. It was my first time in Zug, and
Zug?
then Zug, which is
What?
very have you heard of it before?
No! Is this a new country?
It's in Switzerland. No, it's not new, but it's
How do you spell Zug?
Zug. It's beautiful. It's a lot of very
It
wealthy people live there,
Okay.
and they have a great
Zug.
music fest every year, a jazz fest,
Wow,
and
Zug is one of the charming spots in Switzerland, nestled between
Mhm.
the Pearl Lake Zug, which reveals new wonders to the tourists each time they visit it. The city is located in the canton of Zug, of which Zug is the capital. This town is well known for its low taxes and affluence with beautiful nature. Of course, this is why they're keeping it from people like me. No wonder I haven't heard of it.
they
The
ha
name translates from German, as pull or tug. Wow. I wonder what the hand jobs are like in Zug.
it's also very close to Lucerne, and I had never been to Lucerne, which was beautiful, Lucerne,
Ooh.
Switzerland, and then, Freiburg, Germany, I had been there once, and, Amsterdam, and at the very end, we went to Paris. That was just he wasn't working, we just went to check it out, and I had never
Oh,
been there.
so
And,
romantic.
Gary from, Nerdrotic, he and his wife happened to be in Paris at the same time, so I was like, "How
Saw
cool."
that.
We went to the
Did
Louvre.
do you feel like you spent enough time in each city?
Yeah, we did because we spent, like, a week in each place,
Oh,
so
wow.
I think we got to spend enough time in each ci of course, there was so much you could do. I had never been to Paris before, so, you know, there's so much we didn't get to see, but the palace, uh,
Versailles?
Versailles. Oh my goodness. You could spend days there and not see it all. Even
Yeah,
the gardens are huge, you know? Like, if
it's
you had
so
unlimited money, that's what these people were living like. It was so decadent. Unlimited money to build the most beautiful surroundings for humans, and it was just gorgeous,
wow.
opulent, you know? Of course, that's why they got beheaded because we were like,
You're
"Well,
like,
everybody."
"Hey, I'm living in a tent. This is nice."
Right, meanwhile, the people couldn't afford bread, but they were living like that, so anyway, it
I'll
was
t
great, and German food, I will say, because you mentioned German food, here's my takeaway. German food was excellent, actually. They have really great desserts, and their desserts don't taste as heavy as American desserts. I don't know if that's because they use less sugar or
Wow.
if it's less processed foods or what, but I didn't feel as guilty eating lots of desserts and bread there because it felt like it was a healthier kind.
Everything's better in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not so many preservatives, not so much sugar, and they're like not I don't know, I haven't really been very many places, but the feeling is like they're not so, like, food obsessed. It's like, "Have breakfast or don't. I don't know. Grab a Danish on your way or don't, whatever."
Yeah.
And then in America, it's like, "You gotta sit down and do the grand slam. You gotta do IHOP. You gotta, like, have a Thanksgiving dinner for breakfast," basically.
They're also walking everywhere.
Mhm.
We had my husband had one of those apps where you track your steps. It was off the charts for us compared to what we usually do while we were there. So I was just thinking, oh, even if they're having like a lot of them will have cafe und Kuchen, the coffee and cake in the morning. And so every morning I was like, yeah, give me Kuchen. It's because
Kuchen.
we're
I can't
walking
get enough.
everywhere.
I had so much Kuchen in college. It's been a while for me.
Silly.
Dang. Did you call him a Kuchen? A Kuchen tease? Actually, no, he could call you that. That's so cool. It sounded like you had a really nice mix of work and vacation and alone time.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. So I felt really lucky. It was like, oh, we get to do this because of your job. Yeah, sweet. Let's do it.
It's awesome. I go to places like Tampa for my job. That's that's so neat. And then you were on, a very cool channel called Jubilee, which I've heard people say, and I didn't, like, make the connection between, like, "Oh, it's the middle ground shows where everybody goes and
Yes.
it's black and it looks like an interrogation, it looks like there's gonna be a swinging light bulb," but really it's just the format is very interesting, and for those of you who aren't familiar, it's like y I don't know how they cast these people. Actually, you could probably better explain it,
Yeah.
like, how did they find you? Because 'Cause you're like I feel like should be on almost all of these. You're just so right up their alley for someone who's got a good, um, head on their shoulders and can explain being on the left and being on the right, and you understand the woke people, and you understand conservatives, you understand Christians. So, yeah, how did they find you?
They were looking for people for this so the panel I was on was called Former Liberals versus Former Conservatives. And they were looking for people for this panel. And someone who watches my podcast sent it to me and just said,
Wow.
oh, yeah, you should submit for this one. And then someone that I know someone that I actually know in real life sent me another link to the same thing. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I should do this. I should do this. So it's funny because I went ahead and submitted it, but I'm in the former liberals category. But as you know, these words, they have to be defined these days. Like, what is a liberal today? I have to have people define that because I still consider myself a liberal in many ways. But what often gets defined as liberal today, I think the way it's known in the mainstream today, is this sort of woke, social justice, authoritarian, collectivist ideology. This very, pro censorship, pro political violence, and none of that's liberal. And
Mm.
so, if they're using that definition, then yes, I'm a former liberal. If they're using what I think is the correct, like the classical definition, I'm still a liberal. So, and the funny thing is, a lot of the people on each side, I think this might be the case for a lot of them. Like nobody here really few people here fit neatly into one box because they had already kind of switched their views, and so they were able to see things from both perspectives. I've seen some of these get really heated. Ours was
Yes,
thankfully
I
not.
was just gonna say, this is the first one of these I've seen that hasn't ended in a near fist fight or like a screaming, shrieking match and people like being near tears and just shouting each other down. Why do you think that is?
Well, I definitely went into it, I didn't want it to come to any kind of screaming or, I prayed about it. I there had just been one that had been very contentious. It was the trans conservatives versus trans liberals one with, Blair White and Sarah Higdon. There had been someone on the trans liberal side who was just insane
Wow.
and causing a lot of, ruckus. And So I went into it thinking, oh man, what if it's like that? Like, I don't want to go on something that's just like a clickbait rage fest. And
Because
fortunately,
you could go in with good intentions, but somebody else could go in and be like, "Oh, no, I'm gonna
right.
have a moment. I'm gonna have an outburst. I'm gonna yell at somebody, and then I'll use that to promote myself or whatever I wanna do."
Yeah, and it fortunately, I think maybe a lot of these people had the same concerns because that one that had just come out because everybody was pretty chill. Like we weren't supposed to talk to each other before taping or during the breaks because they wanted it, to get everything on camera. But I can't help myself. I'm not going to say. Plus, I already knew two of these folks, one on
You
each
did?
side. Yeah,
Who
I
did
knew
you know?
Hunter Avalone, who's a former conservative. I had
What?
interviewed him
Heard of
before.
him. Which one was he?
He's the guy up top there in the red. Former conservative. He's a big YouTuber, and his evolution happened in the public eye on YouTube. And so I had interviewed him before because I wanted to understand. I
Wow.
know a lot of people like myself who left the left, but I didn't know very many people who who left the right. And so
Yeah, especially as you get older, it's like, "Hold
yeah,
on, what's happened? Did you fall down the stairs?" Like
right. And it's like, help me understand this. So I had already spoken with him, and then the guy down below in the blue standing beside me, that's Matt Antar. I'd already interviewed him. He's a gay New Yorker who woke up during the COVID years, left the left, has become a very outspoken. He's a Republican now, even. So
wow.
I already knew Matt, so I couldn't help but say, and plus the people I didn't know, you can't put me in a room with people with food, snacks, and stuff, and be like, don't talk to people. Of course, and be like, hey, I'm Keri. Nice to meet you. We don't have to talk. Just where are you from? And then it just
You're so
starts.
friendly and sweet. It's also like you're letting people know, "Hey, I'm not here to make everyone look bad. I'm not here to, like, cause a scene."
Yeah, I think that probably helped is that a few of us were kind of chit-chatting. We tried not to talk about the topic. We tried to just talk about who we were, but I had pleasant interactions with everyone. And I don't think anybody came there to just be a butthole. So
Did they serve alcohol? What were the snacks like?
I didn't see any alcohol. No, it
I
was
would like
like
to do this show, but with a lot of alcohol and then just see how that would go.
fighting.
I would call it sloshed. Yeah.
Slash muddled ground.
But yeah, muddled ground.
It was no, it was just, those standard backstage, like I don't like bags of potato chips and popcorn and stuff. They gave us pizza.
Okay. Oh,
But
wow.
they were taping several others that day as well. I saw Lauren De Laguna there. She was doing I don't
Oh,
know if I'm supposed to say
Lauren.
that. I don't know if hers is aired. I'm sorry. Ignore that.
Ignore that.
But I saw some other people I knew there taping. I guess they were doing several different of these episodes in the day. And I have to give them credit, uh, I thought I know what they did in the on the trans debate, and the fact that they let people pile on Blair, I thought was extremely unfair, and that should have been
Mm.
stopped, and especially when that one crazy person made a threat. It's like,
I
you
did
should
not see this one.
yeah, like, just it's like, come on, man. So I was prepared for that, but none of that happened. They were very, I thought, even-handed, very pro. I had a great experience there. Here's my one thing I did not like. And everyone there, even some of the former conservatives, complained about this privately. I don't know if they complained to the people there, but they complained privately. We were talking amongst ourselves. They had 2 bathrooms, okay? And both of them have been turned into a gender neutral bathroom. And the
Uh,
problem with that was that these were bathrooms that when you went inside, so you walk inside the door, right? There's 2 stalls and a sink and a urinal in one of them because it used to be the men's bathroom. A
right.
urinal that's exposed. That's just sitting there out in the open. And the stalls were the kind that don't close well. They have big gaps. You can see
Oh,
what's happening in
no.
there. And so it felt like anytime you were using the bathroom at any moment, a man could come walking in, or I walked in on a man. Like it was
Ah,
just so awkward. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like it was so uncomfortable, and it makes no freaking sense. You have 2 bathrooms.
it really
What's
does.
wrong with having one
You
for
have
men and one for women?
equal men and women, or even just like you have no trans people on this show, I don't think. Just, you know what I mean? Do a super, like, make it men and women, or if you do a trans show, then make a they them stall. I don't know. You know what I would do? I would just be like taking a crap into the urinal and wait for somebody to come and be like, "Are you happy? Are you happy now? We're all together," you know?
And
I'm just
everybody,
squatting over the urinal.
you'd be
Look
like,
at me. Look at this. Is this what you
is
wanted?
this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted? It was so uncomfortable. Like,
Look at it.
one guy walked in on me. I was just at the sink, but he felt terrible. He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then I walked in on a guy, and the other it was just everything about it's awkward. And
They
I'm
want
sorry.
you
Look,
to feel uncomfortable in the
it
bathroom.
you can, if you kept it just one male bathroom, one female bathroom, trans people can decide. You don't, it's not like they're going to be kicked out of which one they're going in. The what they're doing is taking something with a low frequency of awkward encounters, and they're making it 100% chance of awkward encounters in both bathrooms.
Right.
So
We
that
wanna
was really
we wanna
annoying.
save awkwardness from one trans person at the cost of, uh, adding 100 awkward instances with,
Yes.
straight cis people or whatever the fuck.
Yes.
Right, normies.
Yes. It's so weird.
Okay, that's super annoying. How long were you there for? How long was the filming?
So it was about 3 hours.
Okay, that's
But
not
that's
bad.
including a little break for lunch and getting mic'd and stuff, but it was about 3 hours, and they ended up, the final cut was 30 minutes. Um, but I thought they did an okay job, in how they cut it, although I do agree, I saw Hunter afterwards was saying that they cut out a lot of what he had to say, and I do agree, they I don't know how they make those decisions, but it did seem like,
Ooh.
a lot of what he was saying didn't make it in.
Do you remember
Um
any of his good points that got cut?
Oh, man. Okay, so this crazy thing happened. And I think they have this on their Patreon. You have to pay to see this, like, extended cut or something. I don't know, I haven't paid to see it, but, uh, the so at some point, 2 of the people on the former liberal side started sort of having an intellectual I don't know what you call it, Chrissy. I'm trying not to step on any toes here. They were
Argument?
basically saying, "Well, slavery had some positive."
Well, hear me out. Look, you had somewhere to be in the morning, you had guaranteed work, you had a place to sleep, you know, you didn't just wake up and be like a listless all day, no goals.
And I was like, "What are you doing?" Now, one of these
That's
guys was,
hilarious.
Javen there on the bottom. He's the black guy.
Mhm.
He's young. He's so smart, and he's
He is
already
very well spoken.
very well spoken, left his old ideology, super intelligent, was reading a really interesting book during the breaks. Like, he and I talked a little bit. I think what he was doing, he's at that age of just, intellectual exercises where you're thinking out loud about certain things, and it's not necessarily that you're staking a claim and saying something declaratively. But then Emily, the girl on the left, on the bottom, she said something, and I don't know if she was joking or what, but she said something about how slavery benefited all of us. I mean, I like having an iPhone. I like having stuff, right? And we're like,
Don't you
"What?"
like your sneakers?
Now, if it's you, I'm like, "Okay." Yeah, I mean, I know you're a comedian, but with her, I was like, "Where's this coming from? She's serious?" And everyone got really distracted, and then I
Oh,
couldn't even pick up, the one of the former conservatives was saying something, and I couldn't even focus 'cause I was still distracted by what had just happened. That was crazy, and Hunter, of course, jumped in and had a lot of commentary about that, and all of that got cut, that whole thing, and the religious question got cut. All of that, I think,
oh,
is in the
man.
extended
Do you think
um
that was cut because they were like, "Well, we don't wanna get canceled. This is too spicy of a topic."
Maybe, or maybe they're trying to get more paid subscribers by putting the spicy topic behind a paywall.
That makes
I don't
sense.
know, but that would probably be smart to be like, if they knew people would. I think Hunter's been talking about how all that stuff's behind a paywall, so it might drive people there.
There should be like, "Let's do one take of you screaming at each other, shouting explicatives," and then that'll be like, "To see more, go to Patreon."
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what they kinda did. But yeah, for the most part, it was great. I have to say, the former conservatives, I really liked all 4 of those folks, and the girl to the far right, Samantha, I would love to talk to her again. We talked a little bit afterwards. And the guy to the left, Blake, on top there, he also, I really got a great vibe from him. You know what was cool about it is when we spend a lot of time writing or doing podcasts within a certain, when you're online a lot of the time, you need these in-person reminders that there are very good people out there who disagree with you.
Almost like there's very
And
good people on both sides. A
yes,
wise man once said.
yes. It's like we all know that there are bad people with bad ideology. We've all met them. People with bad hearts who also speak bad ideas. Those people definitely exist. There's a lot of them. But there's also good people who speak bad ideology. There's also good people who are duped and who are in evil belief systems. And I don't mean this just as a dig at them. I mean, I'm sure some of them would think that about me. They would think, oh, if they liked me, they would say, oh, well, I liked her, but it's too bad she's in that evil belief system. That's what they would think. And so, but I think it's important to separate the person from their ideas and figure out, are they good-hearted? Or are they bad-hearted? Do they have good beliefs or bad beliefs? And what kind of person are they? And I thought all these people were very sincere. I thought they all have good intentions. So,
It must be so hard to do something like this and not refer to the other side as brainwashed or like you only think what you think because you're kind of susceptible to social media or where
mhm.
you went to college, or you're only like this because you're really just you're lashing out against your parents and you're still kind of in that like angsty teenage phase or something. But it is important to talk to real people. And I think most folks are kinder when they're having a face-to-face conversation.
Yes, most people, yes. Not the girl in the trans video. Not not
No,
the crazy one that went after Blair.
they probably just
So,
wanted a moment. It must be hard to be Blair White because anytime anyone wants to do anything about trans people, she's like the first person everyone thinks of. And it's like,
mhm,
her dance card is probably always full.
always full. Yeah.
She's like, she has to be the poster girl.
And I
What
don't
was
I don't want you or anyone to mishear me. Like, there are definitely, I'll reiterate, there are bad people with bad ideas too. There are bad people who are on the other side, absolutely. And I don't interact with those people in the same way. It really means a lot to me if I think a person's sincere or not, like, if I think they have good intentions,
right?
that means so much because ideas can change. I left my old ideology. You left. I don't know if you I don't wanna characterize you as being woke, but you were definitely on the left.
Oh, for
You
sure
changed
I
your
was
mind
woke.
about
I
things.
was in Students for Social Justice in college. Like, I got in a van and went to a protest. I didn't even know
Okay.
what protest. I was like, "What? Protest? Van? Cute boys. Count me in." How
But
many hours are
see,
we driving? Sure.
you can leave bad belief systems, you can, but, like, a person's character, it means so much, and I think the people who have the good character who are in a bad belief system, those are the ones worth talking to.
Right. Your intentions mean everything. 'Cause we used to be able to have a conversation. People used to be, and I feel like Gen X might be the last generation that was really able to have friendships with people who were very politically different than them, and no one was trying
Yeah.
to cancel or, uh, ostracize their friends for their political beliefs, and now it's just so fashionable.
Yeah. It's so fashionable to just cut people, it's very cult-like.
It
That a
is.
lot of the questions they asked us were about cults, you know? Was your old ideology cult-like? Talk about that,
Yeah.
things yeah, woke was cult-like. I cut people out of my life when I was woke who didn't agree with me.
It takes less, I think, to be kicked out from the left than the right. I think, it's just so crazy that even being a proponent of free speech is enough to get you kicked off the left, and it's like, wow, everyone should value free speech. It just feels so insane. It's become so muddied over the
Yeah.
years.
Well, it's very muddied now. I mean, times are chaotic, they're getting more chaotic. I like to look at the bottom. Dramatic music
Yeah.
continues.
Dun, dun, dun. I thought she was funny. This girl's Emily, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought she was a hoot. I like that she just didn't really give a fuck. Yeah, I feel like you guys conducted yourselves really nicely. What was your favorite question? Did you get all these questions in advance?
No, we didn't know what they were gonna ask.
Okay.
It's hard to say what a favorite one was. There were some interesting things that we as a group, like former liberals and former conservatives, agreed on, and I think those came out maybe, like, during the question about the two-party system and the two-party system limiting choice and sort of contributing to tribalism. Almost all of us agreed on that. Almost all of us seemed to be populist to some degree and skeptical of the government, skeptical of the media. And that's amazing. I was like, look at all the things we agree on.
I like that I guess the former conservatives or the current liberals weren't all so triggered by the idea of like make America great again or America first. Like they were smart enough to understand the uh, I guess the values behind that instead of being like, "Oh, it's racist. Oh, Trump." Like I didn't see anybody with hardcore TDS on this panel.
Yeah, they were they were open-minded. Again, I think because it's self-selected for people who were open-minded enough to abandon a belief system, which is not an easy thing to do. One of the girls here, Samantha on the left, she talked about her experience was pretty similar to mine, but except she was leaving, uh, the way she described it, a very fundamentalist, intolerant, right-wing environment.
Oh,
And
wow.
and for her, it felt a lot like leaving a cult as well. And so what's fascinating about that is that's how I would describe my experience, except my cult was the woke left. So
Wow.
it's sort of self-selecting for people who maybe have like those people who are former conservatives there, those current liberals, they maybe have a bit more empathy for conservative views because they used to hold those views, so they understand them better
Or they're
than
like,
someone
"You
who's been
remind
on
me
the
of"
left their whole life, you know?
or like, "You remind me of my parents." Did at any point you guys discuss, this woman's glasses? Did that come up as a
No.
okay.
No, we didn't.
Like, "Look, I disagree with your glasses mainly."
Mostly the glasses.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
someone called me though. I saw one of the comments said, "Every side has" what did they say? "A black guy, a white guy, a hot girl, and a middle-aged woman." And I was like, "Wait a minute. Am I the middle-aged one?" Yeah, I
Hold on
am.
a second here. I believe I am the hot girl. Look at all the diversity. Oh, yeah, and then you had to vote. Okay. This is such a nerve-wracking question because you're like, "Ugh, what did the Democrats have planned?" They really don't
Yeah,
want us to.
I didn't step forward on that one because I don't and I answered when it was my turn. I said, I don't trust the election results of any election, any presidential election, probably since Kennedy. I don't know. I don't know enough to know that I should trust them. I so call me Mr. Conspiracy Theory, but I just I don't have any faith in. I'm still gonna vote. I said like
Of course.
screw them. I'm not gonna become apathetic. I'm still gonna vote in case I'm wrong. But I have a lot more faith in local elections than I do in the national ones. So, but there were a couple people who stepped forward here who were pretty gung ho, like, no, he's gonna win.
Yeah, maybe because they're just like, "Wow, he was really crushing it at the UFC fight. Everyone got very excited when he came out." I'm like, "Good for him," he's not just staying home afraid for his life.
Right. The only thing I saw about that so far was it Bill Burr's wife flipping him
Oh
off or
my
something? Was that
god, yes. Which I wanted to get your take on because you used to work with a lot of, kind of, like, lefty and woke high-level comics.
yeah, I Bill Burr's interesting. We just watched this movie he wrote and directed and stars in called Old Dads. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. It's pretty funny, but I would love to talk about it with you after you watch it, because there's a lot of anti-woke stuff in it where he's calling out woke culture, this whole belief system that we should judge people based on what identity group they're in, and there's some really funny scenes based on that. However, all 3 of these guys, 2 of them in particular, are complete cucks. Their wives walk all over them. So even though the male characters are supposedly anti-woke, not with their wives run them, their wives show
Their
them no respect,
their
and
characters are cucked, or them as people are cucked.
their characters,
Okay.
Bill Burr's character, his wife throughout the course of the film, it's weird the way he wrote it because she doesn't support him. She criticizes him, but she can't be criticized. And she leaves him, she criticizes him in front of others,
Oof.
like cutting him down. One of the other of the 3 male characters, his wife's even worse. She snaps at him like a dog and orders him around and undercuts him and his authority with their child in front of people. And by
Wow.
the end of the movie, I
Horrible.
was thinking, how are they gonna redeem these wives? And they didn't.
Nope, fuck them.
They just
Yeah, they're
basically
horrible. I
got
wonder
back together with them.
if that's exaggerated. They take the worst things about the worst kind of a wife, exaggerate them just to have the guys watch and be like, "Yeah, oh, my wife does shit like that." Like, "Oh, wow, like, at least my wife is not she does stuff kinda like this, but it's not as bad as this movie wife." I hate that. I wonder if that's just the kind of the next wave of trendy, almost like a sitcom man-wife dynamic. You know how it used to be what, I don't it was like Sofia Vergara and Al Bundy, or even like Al Bundy and Peggy Bundy. You think about the classic sitcom husband and wife tropes, like the man is like a doddering fool and the wife is just smart and does it all, and the
Yes.
husband is almost like another
Useless.
dependent, another child.
Yes. That really started with sitcoms, I think, in the '70s, that sort of devaluing the role of the father and the husband. Um, but this was just I the reason I thought of that was because 'cause you're asking about what I thought about him and his wife. If he's writing what he knows, then his wife, if she's reflected in the pages of the screenplay as the character of his wife on screen, well, then she looks pretty terrible to live with.
Yeah, this is what Fealty is saying here. Bill wrote what he knows, being a weak husband and pretending to be anti-woke to the world.
That's
I
what the
wonder if
movie
he
was
just
like.
I wonder if he just thinks, I know my show demographics, I know what cities I sell really well in. I am reaching kind of center right dudes, basically. So I gotta pander to them. But
Yeah,
who
because
knows?
at the end of it, Filthy, I'm so glad you had the same opinion because I was still thinking about it, and it's weird because the character all 3 of the guys are anti-woke. They make hilarious, commentary throughout the film, but again, not with their wives. Their wives own them. It's
Oh,
bizarre.
but if you're making a movie, like, don't you wanna look cool? Like, don't you want your character to look good? I don't understand it.
Maybe it's just what they think. It seemed almost like they were saying, "Well, this is just what marriage is like." And they're
It's
all married to,
horrible.
like, younger women who are a little more woke than them and who just kind of, like, put a leash on them.
Tell them
It's
they're like, yeah, they're old and wrong, and they're a little crusty, and they keep forgetting their passwords and things like that.
yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. Alright, now I have to watch it
You have
because
to watch it because you have to tell me what you think.
and then we're gonna do another episode because that's so interesting, and you wonder how much of it is actually his genuine personality, his genuine sense of humor, and then if there's a conflict between who he really wants to be creatively and, like, his wife. That's tricky. 'Cause
They make him
they
in
met
the
when
movie.
on
Oh,
the
go ahead.
Chappelle Show. She used to work for the Chappelle Show.
Oh.
So they got married in 2011 or 2013 or something like that, and they had met, like, almost 10 years prior. They have 2 kids together. The last one was born in 2020. I heard rumors that she might be pregnant again, but I don't know how old they are.
Well, sometimes women, uh, uh, they can lead a little bit their husband to different belief systems. I've
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
seen that in woke
Oh, I've
women who get
definitely
into it
seen that
first. Yeah.
in other comics too. I've known comics that are very much one way with their personality and their sense of humor, and then they get with a certain woman, and then, like, they slowly change over a couple of years, and it's like, "Whoa."
That's kinda what this character was like, Bill Burr's character. You see that happening in the movie 'cause in the movie, instead of the character of his wife, being redeemed or realizing that she's at fault too. His character goes to therapy because it's all him, and at the end, they're in peaceful harmony at the end because he's learned to restrain himself and
He's a
to
wild animal who
yeah.
needs to be tamed. Fieldy, it sounds like, did you see this movie? Fieldy says the plot is men are dumb and reckless and their wives keep them in check. And when they're free, all they do is ruin things and cheat. That's a horrible message.
Yes, pretty much. And they have anger problems and
I don't think that's I don't think you should get married if you think that your spouse is someone that needs to be like whipped into shape or trained or I don't know. I would resent that so much.
One of the I was tempted to tell you more, but I'm not because you're gonna watch it now. I'm not gonna spoil every single plot point. Never mind. You'll have to
You can
watch it, then we'll
spoil it.
talk.
I'll forget.
Well, one of the wives in this movie, we're talking about old dads. She not only treats her husband like a dog and snaps fingers at him and undercuts, challenges
Anything.
him, contradicts him in front of others about their child. Her child is completely undisciplined. Her child runs wild, and anytime the husband tries to rein the child in, because he's throwing things at other kids and hurting them and punching pregnant ladies in the stomach, whatever, and she's just like, "Leave him alone," This is the way he expresses himself,
He's a
and
free
it's
spirit.
yeah, comedy movie, so it's an exaggeration, but I have met some parents who are like that, who are very much, my child can do no wrong. They're raising little narcissists basically who never get disciplined and they never get that kind of love, the discipline kind of love. And so that's also represented in here, that kind of just just a parent who sets no boundaries.
Discipline is important. I think discipline is like the Republican Party. It's like daddy. It lays
Yeah.
down the law. It tells you to work harder, that there's gonna be no handouts, and then mom is like the Democrat Party. Like, "Oh, it's okay. You're black. Here's handouts forever."
Have a second dessert. Oh,
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, you're not fat. You're body positive." No, it's like it's just that scales are racist and so are
Yes.
pants. Yeah.
Losing weight is racist. I've learned this now.
Exercising is racist. Oh, we
S
got some super chats. Thank you, Keith J. Hail, Chrissy. Hail,
Okay.
Keri. I love lasagna. Is that cultural appropriation? No, lasagna is universally loved. Viking, thanks for the super chat. My grandma told me to stay away from knitters. Ooh, same.
They do have pointy sticks.
My grandma didn't knit. Frank's mom knits though. It's pretty cool. It's a great little hobby. Push-ups. Thanks for the super chat. Your grandma would be so proud of the great company you keep now, especially the handsome chap who gave you your first full Bible. What a great guy. That was you, push-ups. Yes, push-ups gave me my first Bible, and now I have like 4. I'm crushing it. I'm well on my way to becoming my grandma. She had like 100 plus. Russell Hall, people from Zug are called Zooglanders.
Are they? Or is that a joke?
Probably a joke. It's Russell. But I like the sound of that. Deranged lunatic. How does one become an ex-conservative? Yeah, were they from just militantly very intense like Christian conservative families? I don't understand.
One of them Samantha was, and also Blake, who was the tall, gay black guy with dreads. He also said he came from a family that he described that way. But I think this happens a lot. For me, it happened in college. That's when I fell into woke. A lot of people, they go through that phase where they think, "Oh, I'm gonna open my mind," which is great to open your mind. But, there's that expression about not opening your mind so much that your brain falls out, and I'm sure you've heard that one before, and that
Oh
in
yeah.
my case, that's what happened. It just there were no limits. There was no and the belief system I adopted in college was what was being preached there at the time, which was social justice, and that was the best way to look at the world. That was the lens through which to view all of human history, and it's an insufficient belief system over time. It turns you
Yeah,
into a hypocrite over time.
it does. It's just I don't think you should vote until you've been like, I don't know, held a job down for like a couple years.
Did you see, speaking of young people who think they know everything, and David Hogg, did you see him on Twitter criticizing Tim Pool because
No.
Tim Pool said something like, he tweeted something like, we should raise the voting age to 30. I don't know if he was joking or serious, but either way, David Hogg said, he quote tweeted and said, look at these people. They want to change the rules of who's eligible to vote because that's the only way they can win. And then and then somebody posted his own tweet, like, posting your L's. They posted David Hogg's own tweet where he had said, let's lower the voting age to 16.
Oh God.
It's like, you
Yeah.
hypocrite. What are you talking about?
And the Democrats are actually for making age irrelevant in voting. In fact, they're really big proponents of letting dead people vote. In fact, it's like you could be so old you're dead.
Mailing it in.
Just literally, it's a mail-in vote. Yes. Okay, that's cool. Do you remember any of the other stories for how the other people on the panel became ex-conservatives?
Oh, well, Hunter Avallone, who I've interviewed, I think it had a lot to do with him with a woman. It had a lot to do with a woman, yes, and his wife and her beliefs. And becoming a father. The way he described it, it was becoming a father. And but I get the sense that a lot of times women can have some sway on where their men move ideologically, or even towards Christianity, for example.
Wow. And that's, I think, I would like to see from especially like the online sort of red pill community, I would love to see them move more to a place where we talk about how to pick a good person, how to pick a good spouse, because so much of what I'm hearing is just like very particular to someone's bad experience or one bad guy they dated, and it's a lot of sweeping generalizations instead of, and none of that is practical knowledge for people. You can't just it's not productive to just tell swaths of people like, well, don't get married, there's nothing in it for you anymore. Well, most of you get divorced anyway, so why even try? It's like, okay, at the end of the day, most people are going to be are not equipped to live alone their whole lives. Most people want to find someone, a life partner, a ride or die, a domestic partner, whatever. So I would just love to see it move into an actual advice, like, because you won't have this problem of your wife leading you around, treating you like a kid, talking down to you, condescending to you, right? Humiliating you in public, that sort of thing. If you pick a good woman, just like you won't have a guy who gets angry and hits you or condescends to you or is so controlling or won't let you even like talk to another guy friend kind of thing. And that all comes down to like, not that all women, all men are toxic. It's like, no, you just didn't pick a good person.
I think that's true. I think also sometimes it's instead of telling people don't get married, I think it should be, why are you getting married? Figure out why you're getting married, because marriage today, I'm Christian, so that is my worldview. Speaking of worldview, and I think it's almost like the way marriage exists today culturally, it's been divorced of a lot of the meaning and the purpose behind it, and now it's just become this remnant, this thing that people go through for the tax breaks, to have Instagrammable moments, to
The wedding is such a
the
big
wedding,
part of it.
right, to check that thing off the box, and to and to have that romantic partner that it's just about the romance part. I don't know if a lot of people think past the romance part, like what happens during hard times with this person. And if you don't know why you're getting married and what the purpose of marriage is, which when I was younger, I didn't. If you don't know that, then when you have hard times, how it's going to be a lot harder to get through them. If you don't have a similar belief system, like my husband and I, we've been through some hard times, but thank God I could at least go to, okay, here's our foundational thing that we agree on, and this is why we got married. And you start from there. If you don't have that, if you don't know what you think the purpose of marriage is or why you're getting married, then you're kind of going in blind, I think, because you don't know what that other person is thinking either. And I see so many people today. One of my gig jobs takes me out to hill country in Texas quite a bit, which is wine country. There's lots of
Ooh.
engagements happening there and weddings. And so I'm always sort of around this like wedding business stuff that's going on. And sometimes a lot of it just seems just very commercially driven and just about like the keeping up with the Joneses thing and having the perfect day and the perfect pictures and the perfect this and that, but no thought beyond that day about what are our shared principles, what's most important in life, and picking someone that you want to have that you think would be a good parent to raise your kids. So anyway, I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm just kind of
It's
rambling now, but that's some of my
no,
thoughts
it's
about it.
good that's why we have so many divorces. I think a lot of folks just think of marriage as like, "Oh, yeah, I'm now just permanently dating you. I wanna officially stop looking for someone else," and it's like, it's so much more than that. It's like, no one's gonna have a perfect marriage. You're not even if you are just domestic partners, it's never and I think so many people just give up when it gets hard. You have to decide it's you can't avoid problems. You have to decide, like, we're going to work through whatever comes up, because whatever comes up is gonna be him or I having a human experience, and you have to, like it's almost like you can't go into a marriage with, like, with your guard up, with a shield up, like, being kind of afraid, being kind of controlling. You have to just be totally vulnerable and, like, trust that your person is giving that to you as well, and that you have each other's backs, and then yeah, I do think having a strong religious component, like, helps you see you through those hard times.
I love, by the way, that your wedding had whimsy and foundation. You had a religious
Aw.
component to it. You had something meaningful, vows. The vows are so important. It's not just about what I think a lot of times it's become, which is sort of, here's all the things I love about you and which is great. But it's also about I am making a vow. This is my word. It should mean something. I'm making a vow to you. It's not just
In front of,
words.
like yeah, in front of my most attractive friends, look.
And the flower guy. You had a flower guy.
Yeah, right, in front of the Trump impersonator.
The Trump. You guys, Chrissie Mayr had a Trump impersonator at her wedding that I actually did a double take because I thought he was so good. For a second, I thought you got Trump.
Hey, I have contacts, I know people. Oh my gosh.
He was great.
Then that was the only little snafu, is, like, it took him a little bit too long, like, a little bit longer, he missed his music cue, that was it, but it was so much fun. I was happy to just like, I never thought, "Oh, what's the aesthetic?" I mean, I was, like, aware of, "Okay, what kind of aesthetic, what kind of vibe do I" but I was never obsessed with it. I just was like, this what a cool chance to get together, like, all my friends and family." I loved, like, the big party and hosting aspect of it
Yes,
rather than, like, "Everyone look at me, it's my day." Like, yeah, did I low key starve myself to fit into a dress? Of course. I was like, "Look,
and you looked great.
if I don't bring it for this, I don't I'm not gonna get another chance, like
Yeah,
but it
it's
wasn't
still all those things. It is that big important day, and yes, document it and all of that. It's just when it's, like, missing anything more than that, that I think people are walking in blind,
yeah.
especially sometimes younger people. Like like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being ageist.
Be ageist. These young kids don't know shit. They're all idiots.
Oh, here's a great example. I may have told you this before. I'll try and there's a show called, Marriage or Mortgage. Have you seen this show? Did I tell you about
Ooh,
this?
or morgue.
Or Mor That's like Marry, Murder, or what is it?
Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That should be a show.
So it's called Marriage or Mortgage, and the conceit of the show is that each couple comes on with a nest egg that they've saved around $30,000, and during the episode, you see them meet with um, a a realtor who's gonna show them houses that they can afford to put a down payment on together, and then they also meet with a wedding planner who shows them what kind of wedding they could have for that $30,000. And
Ah.
so, over the course of the show, they try both things out. They figure out by the end, "Here's what we're gonna spend the 30,000 on," right? Okay, it is shocking because you'll see there was one couple on that show. They've been living together in a tiny one-bedroom apartment for years. They already had 2 kids together. The kids are living on top of each other. They don't have any space.
Oh,
And you're thinking, "Okay, this couple's definitely they're gonna put the down payment on the home and provide for their family." Nope, at the end of it, she was like, "I need that blowout wedding," you know?
because think
Like,
about it, you're not gonna have all your friends and family at your house. There's gonna be many of your friends that never come to your house, like family that may not ever see your house. So it's like, but a lot more people see the wedding.
that's what she's thinking. But I'm like, "Dude, you could have bought the house and then just thrown a cheap, fun wedding that you put together yourself in the backyard, and you
Get a
get the house
catering
and the
hall.
wedding."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
like,
probably do someone's back, like figure out which of your friends has the best backyard. Or yeah, rent out a
yeah, you could have
restaurant.
done it you could have done so that to me, that show, that's one of the positive things. There are a lot of negative things about reality shows, but one of the positive things is I think it's just fascinating, like, people watching and stuff like that. It just blows my mind. Like, "Dude, buy the house. What are you doing? What's most important?" Anyway.
Yeah. It's almost like 'cause you look at our parents and our grandparents, they got married a lot younger. They generally, like, it took less years and months of dating. They got married in less time, but a lot of them understood this, like, okay, it's the ride or die thing. But then you look at the boomers largely who stayed together in horrible relationships. Like, a lot of them actually ended up getting divorced, but a lot of them we're kind of I just, like, remember my own parents, like, kinda sour to each other, kinda condescending, like, not working out their shit, just being passive aggressive, which is great for raising kids who have a great sense of humor, but
Yeah,
it was not a healthy example of a relationship
yeah.
at all, and I think the way that Frank and I did it was fantastic. I mean, like, we've been together 9 years at this point. We've been with each other through multiple deaths, a pandemic, terminal cancer, um almost all of the, like, friends dying horribly, tragically. Um, it's just, like, we've seen each other through, like, almost every possible scenario, and it's like, yeah, okay, eh, you have enough time to figure out, like, are we all on board with the same do we feel the same way about money? Do we feel the same way about and I've watched him be a father the whole time, and I have, like, an awesome stepson now. Well, I mean, it's like, I've always considered him kind of I mean, I've known him for 9 years, so he's always just been part of the deal. So it's like I knew he was a great dad already. It's just so much of it was proven over time,
Mm,
whereas I feel like some people get married and they still kind of barely know their person.
yeah. There's something there you're hitting on about the boomer generation and the lack of attention or the over attention that they showed. I don't know what that is. I need to read more about that generation
Yeah,
and
I
the
am
parenting
fascinated
skills,
by the boomers.
but yeah, yeah,
Yes.
not always the best home environments.
Yes,
uh,
and Frank is also very funny. He's freaking hilarious. He's funnier than all the other comics I've dated, like, smarter, like, makes me laugh harder than anybody.
you need a person who can make you laugh.
Ugh. And I used to think astrologically it wasn't gonna work out. Uh,
What
yeah.
did these cards say?
It's always good. Yeah, don't obsess over the charts. Viking, Chrissy and Frank gave Pearl a melty on Twitter. Oh yeah, Pearl was quote tweeting Frank because he dared to disagree with her about something, and then she started calling him low T.
That sounds like a rapper name.
Low T does little T. Foundation head forum. Ooh, you're new. Hello. Thanks for the super chat. Teenagers are voting for Javier Milei in Argentina. He will be their next president. My show is covering him better than any other anglophone show. I almost feel like this super chat was meant for a different show, but thank you. Thank you, Fountainhead. Push-ups. Thanks again. Speaking of the Bible, it warns repeatedly against being unequally yoked. That sounds
Mm,
sexual. To people of other faiths. Even King Solomon was led astray, right, Keri?
yes.
Unequally yoked.
So there is this Bible verse about you shall not be unequally yoked, and it's during during our nation's history, there was a time when racists in the pulpit would use that to say, "Oh, this is talking about interracial marriage." No, it's not talking about interracial marriage. It's about different faiths, different modes of being in the world. It's about coming together to form the most important partnership you could form, a marriage with someone who doesn't share your foundational beliefs. And so it warns against that, because think of all the problems that could arise. And yeah, I think that's a really
Seems
important.
so obvious. Like, I make jokes that when we sat down with the priest, I was like, "I'm Methodist, sorry," like, raised Methodist. He's like, "Okay, but you're baptized, right?" Like, he still had Frank fill out a form being like, I am marrying a person who's not Catholic. But the deal is, if you have a kid, you gotta bring it to Catholic church. I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool with whatever church. Let's do it." And I just think I think it was just so funny that, like, he had to fill out a form, like a permission slip.
The permission slip, it's like paperwork in the
Yeah.
we don't have that paperwork in the Protestant church that I know of. It's like, fill this
Deal
out.
breaker would have been if either one of us had been divorced before. Then I think we wouldn't have been able to get married in the Catholic Church.
Wow.
So I was like, "Damn." It was an interesting process for sure.
I have some appreciation for somebody was asking about this Mary statue earlier today. I'm not Catholic, but I have a great appreciation for parts of it. When I was searching for a church, when I was kind of stumbling towards God, I tried all kinds of churches. I went to a Catholic church for a while, and I really like elements of the service. I like the tradition, the meditative kind of prayer where you're repeating the prayer, the beads, I like all of that. And the art, and getting to visit all these places I mentioned this summer, going to these cathedrals that are hundreds and hundreds of years old,
Oh,
and they're
it's
so
inspiring.
beautiful. Yeah, the beauty, the architecture, the statues, I love all of those parts of Catholicism. I think they really knew how to have an appreciation for what's beautiful in the world. That's like one of the positive
And they didn't
parts of
need Facetune or filters.
I'm sure a lot of them have that now. I really did. I did get annoyed at there was a cathedral in Cologne, Germany that we stopped in really quickly, and you know how they usually have they have a little box for change where you can put a donate when you light a candle. Okay, they had a credit card machine there.
Oh, no.
It's like, no, there's something about that just seemed gross. Like,
I don't
no,
like
no, no,
that.
no, no. The coin box is fine. Don't put a credit card
It's like
machine right
putting
next.
a coffee machine or something, like, I don't know, it's too modern. It's like,
Too modern, yeah.
can we just have certain things that are just old stuff, please?
Right.
Oh, wow.
But okay, so somebody in your chat says Catholics have the best aesthetic, superficial as that may be. Don't sell it short, though. I think there's something. It's not entirely superficial to care about the aesthetic.
They do,
Uh,
they're the most hardcore.
There's something really. It's God is praiseworthy. If you're a Christian, right? God is praiseworthy, and I think it says something to create beautiful places of worship and houses of worship for God. And I think it says something to maybe make a little effort and dress up when you go to worship God. I know I sound like an old
Right,
person.
don't wear
It's
I
like
don't think they should
you're
let
doing
people in
something
with
important.
sweatpants. I don't think they should
Yeah.
let people in, yeah, in flip-flops. I just
I think God accepts everyone. It doesn't matter where you wear it. I'm just saying the closer you get, the more intentional I guess you get, and the more sincere and you get with your faith in God. It's like you kind of want to dress up because you're like, this is important what I'm doing.
you should look just as
And
good for a first date as you
yeah.
would for church. I think people should dress up to fly. I think people should dress up to go to the movies. I think,
I've seen you get dressed up to fly and you got kicked off the plane. So
I know, I know. I was just
are
trying
you
to be like my grandmother proud. I had a matching. I have them actually right here in my drawer. I had a matching top and bottom. It was a little sheer, but it was sparkly. It was my not my Sunday best, maybe my Saturday night best. But
It
yeah,
looked great, actually. I don't know if it looked
I
different in
loved
person,
it.
but the pictures, I was like, "What is the problem
I
here?"
was in the
So
best
weird.
shape of my life flying from Vegas, having a Vegas moment with my good friend Keanu. It's like, just cramping my style, American Airlines. But then they did. I mean, I was like, never again. But I'm still an American Airlines Gold member, and I did get a random first class upgrade, like a couple of flights ago when I was going to Minnesota, and that was like amazing because I only flown first class twice in my life. One was like an angel stewardess, like plucked me out of the bowels of economy and said, "You can go to just go quick, go run up there." I was like, "What? Thank you." And I was like, "I'm sick." No, I just felt like Tiny Tim, like, "Oh my God, please, sir." And then this time I actually belonged there, and I had real like big dick energy, and
It's so different being
first
up
class
there.
it wasn't full, and he said, you guys can stretch out, you can switch your seats if you want. So I went from the third row to the first row because I'm like, I'm never in my life gonna get a first row, first class seat. And I was like peeking into the pilot's area, and I was like, ooh, I could see like two little white elbows. I was like, I feel comforted by that. I just saw white arms sitting in the pilot seats. I was like, this is nice. Yeah, the guy kept asking if I was okay, and
It's
that's just good service.
it's a world of difference. The coach seats have gotten, I don't think it's not just my imagination, right? They keep getting smaller,
They
which
they
is
they
weird
keep
because
getting smaller.
people keep getting bigger.
They
And
want the little blowers above you to occasionally not work. They don't put TVs on all the planes.
yeah.
The worst is, and I've flown in every seat, I think the very back row because you can't recline at all, and if you're on a flight for a certain number of hours, like, you're gonna feel, like, really claustrophobic if you're in that back row and you can't recline at all, and sometimes you're sitting right, in front of the motor, so it's like a loud banging, or it's like white noise, but, l horrible. It's like it'll cause a brain bleed. Like, I think we flew back maybe from Cancun a few years ago. We were very back row next to the engine, and I had to actually, like, give myself a pep talk the whole flight because I had to, like, talk myself out of having like, a mental breakdown. Like, that's how intense, like, this noise was. I was like it was crazy.
It's freaky. If there's turbulence, yeah, I'm not a I get pretty nervous. I'm a nervous flyer sometimes if there's turbulence. I'm not
I just
great at
pray
it.
so hard. I just pray so hard, like, during, before, after. I get most of my praying done on planes, I've noticed. And then when I'm so like, puking from being drunk, which I haven't been in a few months. This is the longest I've been sober. I'm going on month 3. I don't know how people do this.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm like a different person. I'm just out here raw dogging life, not
I
drinking.
I just hit my 4-year sobriety at the end of October.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I've noticed I'm only, like, just new to this world, but at a certain point, you do just kinda get over it. You're like, "Eh." You just
You
get
do
over
get
the
over
idea of
it.
drinking.
I didn't think I would ever be able to be sober, and it's weird 'cause, people ask me now, like, "Oh, do you miss it?" And, like, occasionally, but it's more of a nostalgia for certain associations in the mind. Like, if it's a beautiful spring day and you pass a place where people are having breakfast and mimosas, and you're like,
Oh,
"Oh, it'd be so great to have a
you're like,
mimosa."
"Brunch." You're like, "A
Right.
mimosa, that tastes like having friends."
You associate it with things, right? But then all that happens now is, thankfully, then I remember what would happen to me after that brunch. So I'm like, "No, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
It's
when I
never
feel
worth
like,
it."
"Oh, I miss drinking," it's because, like, "Oh, yeah, margarita is tasty." It's like a Cosmo is tasty. Like, some of these drinks just look like they're tasty, and then I just follow that through. I'm like, "Okay, I'm craving something sugary right now." Like, I'll probably just, like, have some fruit or, like, a flavored seltzer. So if you can, like, back that craving out to something you can actually have, and you're like, "Oh, okay,
Oh, yeah. It's
fine."
I do that if it's a special occasion, or if I'm out with people, I'll have, like, a really fancy I think when I was at one of your shows in Texas, and we all went to this bar afterwards, um, I think was it Dallas maybe? Anyway, everybody was having a drink, and so they had a fancy water there that was called Liquid Death, and I
Yes! Oh, the comics love Liquid Death. It's so overrated, I think. It's just in a big, scary black can. It makes you
Yes.
feel like you're drinking when you're not.
It feels so fancy. It's like, "Oh, give me the $5 water."
Yeah.
So, but I'll do that, or, you have a bartender make a mocktail for you. They love it too because they wanna make you something fancy, I'll ask them, "Make me surprise me, some mocktail that will blow my mind," and they'll, like, all be into it, give me some really cool drink. So, I'll do something like that.
Oh, yeah. I had a virgin pina colada on my birthday this past Saturday, and we were at, like, Fogo de Chao, and it first of all, it wasn't even frozen. So, like, why? Why? You should've just said it's not frozen. I should've been like, "Okay, cool, moving on." They served me, like, a pina colada on the rocks that was virgin, and I just was like, "This is such a joke. Like, why am I even doing this?" But I threw it back. But it's good. It's good to be sober. EF, thank you for the super chat. Oh my gosh, you get a special sound effect. That's what you get. EF, Biden is trying to turn the internet into a branch of government. G&G talked about it on Tuesday night. Main event. It's being voted on tomorrow. Oh yeah, even Kathy Hochul, my governor here in New York, was talking about that they're going to start surveilling more of social media to crack down on hate speech. And I was like, this woman is talking straight up Chinese right now. I was blown away. Let's see if I can play. Let me find it. I think because I did quote tweet it. It's shocking. Like they're really cranking this stuff up. Oh yeah. Let me share
What
this.
I have to read about this. Is this his Internet for All plan?
Yuck.
Digital equity. Oh, no.
Digital equity. That means you finger the lady with both hands. Okay.
Also, we're very focused on the data we're collecting from surveillance efforts. What's being said on social media platforms.
Oh, Kathy, let's pause you for a minute. So she said, collecting digital evidence, basically, from social media.
And we have launched an effort to be able to counter some of the negativity and reach out to people when we see hate speech being spoken about on online platforms. Our media analysis, our social media analysis unit has ramped up its monitoring of sites to catch incitement to violence, direct threats.
And like, what does that
others.
even mean? What does incite? It's all just dependent on whatever
We
they
know what
think.
it means because this is the same administration who already designated parents at school board meetings as domestic terrorists. Like they take these phrases which used to mean something specific, but they use them to cast aspersions on more than half the population. So I don't trust any government official who's talking about people making threats. They don't even they can't even define woman. They can't define the word harm. They can't define anything anymore. It's purposefully vague, so it can mean whatever they want it to mean.
Yeah, and this
They
is a
would
good
probably say we're inciting violence by talking about airplanes and whatever we've talked about tonight,
yeah, talking about crapping into a urinal. Mac has a good comment here. It's not the job of the government to counter negativity. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not.
And all this is in response to our desire, our strong commitment to ensure that not only do New Yorkers be safe, but they also feel safe.
Ugh.
Because personal security is about everything for them. As I said, no one walking down the street or in a subway.
Yeah, you know what would make me feel safe? If you could take the what has New York spent so far on illegal immigrants? $12 billion or something like that. $12 billion. And I think the whole of what they spend on the NYPD is less than that. Maybe $7 billion. Yeah, that would make me feel safe.
You'd feel they have to hide any indications of what their religious beliefs are. We expect to see people celebrating their lives, walking about freely. And that is no longer the case because people are living in fear. They have a right to do whatever
We get to decide what makes people feel safe and what
they
doesn't.
want here in the state of New York.
Wow, gee, it sounds like it could be nice. It sounds like, oh, are they trying to like calm the people who feel like anti-Semitism is on the rise, but it's like, no, they're just using these demonstrations and protests that have been happening in New York to be, ooh, let's just push the surveillance more. Let's just push this Chinese shit on people even more.
One of the reasons I would guess people don't feel safe in New York is because crazy people are allowed to attack and confront them on subways, on public streets. And if anyone does anything about it, any bystander, they get charged and they're punished for it. So why would anybody step in when they see something like that happening? And a lot of times these people are career criminals who shouldn't be back on the streets anyway. So is that what she's talking about? Is she talking about fixing the justice system?
Right. I'm pretty sure like the crackheads that hang outside Compound Media like are not posting on Twitter their intentions to like crack someone over the head with their cane or push somebody into traffic. Like I'm pretty sure there's no way to anticipate what the people overdosing on the sidewalk are going to do and say. Yeah, here we go. This is from the New York Times. Mayor Adams says migrant influx will cost New York City $12 billion.
Wow, it's expensive.
$12 billion. And the migrants are refusing. Adams, I think this is his way of low-key saying, like, get the fuck out of New York, because he has this big migrant spot, I guess, in like deep, far away Brooklyn. And the migrants are like, well, that's far away from New York City stuff. And I think that's his way of low-key being like, yeah, get the fuck out. Like, you're not gonna get to stay in the Hilton in Midtown because the holidays are coming and they need tourism to get going again, and they don't need a bunch of fucking stinky migrants laying around ruining tourism. Yes,
a lot of this is because states like mine, like Texas, the governors have finally started saying, okay, if there are states out there or cities out there that are saying, oh, we're sanctuary cities or we're sanctuary states, and like looking down their nose at states like Texas who want to do something about the immigration crisis, then it's like, okay, well, then put your money where your mouth is. If you say you're a sanctuary state, then here, share the load. Why should poor border towns in Texas be the only places that have to shoulder this burden? And it's interesting to see that I've seen a number of articles now, not just about New York, but in Chicago also. I've even seen video of some of the city council meetings in taking place in Chicago, where you see community members very upset.
They're against
very
it.
upset.
Chicago doesn't want to be sanctuary city anymore. They're like, we have enough crime. Actually, we're doing a great job at that all by ourselves.
So this is what you voted for if you're in a sanctuary. I'm not saying every single person, obviously, but this is what the city voted for. So vote differently, because Texas is tired of shouldering this burden. And so maybe it takes mayors like this guy in New York seeing the impact in his town to do something or to change what he's saying about this problem. I'm so tired of people pretending like it's not a problem, and also conflating two things together. They try and pretend like wanting to fix the system, the immigration system, which is broken, wanting to fix that, wanting to strengthen security at the border, wanting to make sure there's a process that's followed legally when people come into this country, that they're checked out, that there's a whole system that's working. They conflate that with being against immigration. And that is dishonest.
Xenophobic. Oh, I'm afraid of people from other countries. Yeah, okay, sure. No, I just don't want them in the same gymnasium as my kid goes to school.
We talked about Germany earlier. So when we were in Germany, or right when we were leaving, there was another swimming pool attack. And this is where migrants had attacked a young girl in a public pool. And we were trying to find out more news about it, because the first news report we saw was just in German. So I was trying to find an English outlet that had covered it. And when I looked up German migrant pools, I found tons of news articles going back like 10 years in different German cities where this has happened over and over and over again, because you're having people who are not being culturally assimilated, who are coming from a culture where you don't even see women's ankles Like you just see like a little slit, and then they're at a pool with people wearing
You're in
bikinis.
underwear, right?
Yes. And so one of the older cases I found when I was trying to find news about this current pool attack, I found a story from 2016 or 17 about a pool in Cologne, Germany, or outside of Cologne, where they had decided they were going to close the pool to migrants. That they weren't right. Based, right? Okay, so except then everyone exploded, all the leftists, "How dare you? This is so discriminatory." And so the next day they apologized. They made another statement. They apologized and they said, "Okay, we're going to let them come to the pool, but we're going to offer gender equity classes."
Oh,
I'm
I'm
like,
sure they're
"What are
gonna
you
love those. They're definitely gonna sign right up for that.
like that's not going to fix anything." This is the problem when you have the reason the immigration process is a long process of learning about the history and the culture of the place you're moving to. Is part of that is because it's helping to grow affection for this what's going to be your new homeland, and to help you assimilate to the culture there. And if you skip that entirely, you're skipping all of that assimilation. And
Right.
so
Let the migrants be like, "Hey, if you wanna be here, you gotta get down with our gay shit, our equity shit, the alphabet gang. You gotta be down with" yeah, like, the trans military, like, these are our American values. Now, if you're not about that, if you're, Muslim and you're not down with ankles, like, sorry, you gotta get down with ankles or go back to your country.
you're going
They
to see
let
ankles.
people know. Be a lot of ankles. Could be wiki feet. It's gonna be OnlyFans.
Yeah. It's just I don't know. It's weird. Germany was weird because Germany's not a big country like we are. They're not meant to be a huge melting pot like we are, and their culture is disappearing. It's completely being
So
supplanted and
sad.
replaced, and so people are, you can still find parts of German culture there, but you have to look for it. You're like walking around like, where are the schnitzels and like
Yeah.
the beer
I've
houses
never
and
been to Germany. I wanna have, like, a schnitzel experience before it's too late.
before it's too late. Yeah. Uh, but I think a lot of that in Germany has to do with there's no assimilation period. It's simply just come and replace with like a different culture entirely in what's a very small geographical area. So
They should
I
be like,
did
"Look, how do you look in lederhosen? Are you okay wearing this? How do you feel about Oktoberfest? How much beer can you keep down? If
right.
you're not down with that, get out of Germany."
I feel the same way about local places. If you're moving to Texas, I moved to Texas. I'm originally from South Carolina, but if you're moving to Texas, come for Texas. Don't come and try to change it. We don't need cultural missionaries bringing their culture with them, like trying to change what's great about Texas. Like you can come here as a cultural refugee because you're coming to escape some awful place that you want to be a Texan, but don't come here and try to change it, assimilate. Like,
Look, you shouldn't have to go to Epcot Center to see the German pavilion, like, that Germany should still be like that. I'm so scared that's all we'll have
that's
left
all.
is
Yeah.
Epcot Center.
Oh, who
Oh
was it
my
that got in
god.
trouble? It was, from Monty Python. John Cleese got in trouble a few years ago. Remember that when he said English culture's gone. It's disappearing. And, oh, they dragged him. How dare you, John Cleese?
You get dragged for pointing out the obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the goal is to just make all countries kinda like third world countries, that way they can justify bringing in the one world government and, be like, "Hey, while we're at it, here's this new currency. Here's this new digital currency that everyone's gotta get down with, and we can just turn off your money whenever you want. Sorry, bye."
Well, things are definitely moving towards, you know, uh, getting rid of the ability for regular people to own private property. I think that's absolutely what they want. Um,
Oh, he said London is no longer a British city. Aw,
yeah.
that's sad.
Did you see this new thing that they're trying to do where they want the government to require all car manufacturers to have a kill switch in the car so they can turn your car off if if they have I'm sure for good reason, right? How might that be
Yeah.
abused?
If you have a spicy tweet, they can turn your car off at a red light, or make it so you can't even leave your house.
Yeah, I think it
Isn't
was
that what they did to Anne Heche? Isn't that how they killed her off? Like, she had some sort of a spicy documentary coming out about, like, human and child trafficking, and they basically, like,
Oh,
I heard her whole
I
death was
haven't heard this
they
conspiracy
took her
theory.
out. Yeah, they took her
No.
out. Yeah.
No, I did not. I've gotta look into that conspiracy theory. I just thought she got loaded. Yeah,
Yeah.
here it is. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't heard this, they have this new federal law that will require all passenger cars sold after the year 2026 to have a kill switch.
Oh, God.
They don't have a right to do that. They don't have a right to render our public vehicles inoperable. And just think about how they could use that. I mean, we already saw what different governments have done in the past few years during the COVID years, stuff they were doing and, turning people's bank accounts off so they couldn't bank. Like, of course they're going to abuse it. So
Wow, if that's the case, I'm gonna drive, like, a mail truck around. I'm gonna have to get, like, some sort of civil servant job. I'm gonna be a truck driver. I'm gonna drive for Amazon just so I can get, like, a free vehicle that's, can't be shut off.
yeah,
Damn,
I'll never, if that goes through, if they don't get rid of that, like,
that's scary.
I don't think I'll ever buy another vehicle after maybe like 2025. I'll get the last one.
That's what you fucking want. Yeah, just get a really good car in 2025 and just hope it holds out. Or be like me and drive a mail truck. I'll be like Newman.
And then in the UK, I got one more thing for you that I mean, I think of it as something similar. So in the UK, they just passed this law that said if you're born after the year, I think it was like 90, I forget what year it is, you can never legally buy cigarettes ever.
Oh, in the UK, I heard that. Yeah,
Isn't that
of
crazy?
all the things.
It, if y- the- it's what you think about smoking, what any person listening may think about smoking aside, it's not within the government's right to do that.
How about fentanyl? Okay, can we get that under
Right.
control? Can we stop people ODing on opiates? Can we stop overprescribing shit that people don't need and then get addicted to? Cigarettes are the last of our worries. And plus, you look very cool. They look very cool still.
But it also it's like, what comes after that? Because once you get used to that idea and once
Right.
several generations have gotten used to the idea that like, "Oh, yeah, it's within a government's right to dictate something like that." Well,
Then
then
alcohol is next, for sure.
or whatever they decide. I mean, here it was, what did Biden ban? Incandescent lights. They have a say in what kind of light bulbs we can buy now. I'm like,
Right. Stoves for
"Yes."
sure.
So, I'm sorry to go on a tangent, just you got me thinking about that with
Hey, they already got very
what they want
comfortable
from us.
regulating exactly, they already got very comfortable regulating what goes in your body, by mandating certain experimental jabs not too long ago. So, they're just like, "Ooh, how far can we take this?"
Yeah.
Yeah, smoking, people aren't even really smoking that much anymore. Or if they do, it's like my friend Keanu who does it because it's, like, part of her aesthetic.
But it's just it's an overreach. They don't have the right to turn off our cars. They don't have the right to turn off our heat like they do when, these brownouts in California. They don't have the right to go, operate your thermostat for
They
you.
do that sometimes,
And
though, but you have to take it off a special setting, like, it comes with this default setting where they can just be like, "Oh, yeah, we've turned it off or turned it way down or set it at this specific temperature for you." It's
yeah,
scary.
I think the future is like if you look at some of these videos about smart cities and stuff, the way they want to design cities of the future, they're trying to market them. They put together these presentations where it's supposed to be really happy and we're supposed to be excited about this, but a lot of them are very alarming and dystopian where you're
I
watching them like, I don't want to live like
Yeah.
that.
I think they're gonna market them to the welfare crowd. They're gonna be like, "Look, it's real easy.
Yeah,
Your shit's gonna be paid for. We'll put money in your bank for you. We'll incentivize the shit out of it like they did with the jabs." And they'll
yeah.
they'll see if how many people will fall for it. I'm gonna live in the dumbest city possible. Let me go I'm gonna go hang out with some sheep. Yeah, it's like we're all the frogs in the hot water. we're just like, oh, it could be worse. It's a little warm in here, but no, we're not boiling to death just yet.
Have you seen the line?
For what?
Okay, here, let me send this to you. I don't know if you want to show. Okay, this is one. This is
I'm gonna,
insane.
let's move to Zug, Keri. Me and you will go to Zug.
I would love to live in Zug, right on the water. So this is
Ooh.
a city that they want to build, where everyone, 9 million residents live in a wall.
In a wall. I've seen this.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Taking a stab at building a city of the future. There's
The future. All right. So what's their great idea? Oh, look how great it's basically like there's a foyer inside. It's like an atrium. Look how great. Oh, it's called The Line.
This
And they're
is yeah, so at first he's showing us
miles
different kinds
long.
of future cities, and this one is for Saudi Arabia. They wanna put the whole city in a wall like that, where you live on
Why
top of
though?
each other. It's great for the
They're gonna make this like
environment.
Hunger Games. It's all gonna be like what's on the other side of the wall. There's gonna be like they're getting us comfortable with the idea of walls
Yes.
again. Because why not
Look at
just make
that.
it a big square?
Look, everything is within
It's like
a
a movie.
5-minute walk, and I was, like, watching this going, "Yeah, you know where else everything is just a 5-minute walk?
New York
Prison."
City?
Like,
Oh, prison.
you know? But, like, everything's within 5 minutes.
Whoa. And who's gonna go for this? You'd have to make it really cheap. You have to make it so like, well, I can't afford to buy a house or property. I'm gonna live in this wall. I'm gonna go live in Wally World.
It feels like the beginning of a horror movie.
Yes. Oh, they control everything. They could look how easy it is for us to get poisonous gas inside the wall and yikes. He'll never leave. We'll bring the outside to you. Yikes.
You know who's not living in that wall? I guarantee you, the elites. They're not gonna be
No.
living in the wall.
They wanna keep their infinity pools. Oh my gosh, that is so dystopian. Yikes. I wonder when they're thinking of finishing this by. I would say in the next 10 years, I guess. Live in the wall.
Yeah, so weird.
The Line. Okay, there's a metro. Ugh. We will track your every move, your every thought, your every wish and desire. But oh, if you step out of line, we'll electrocute you from the temperature controlled floors.
Do you remember a meme that went around, like, maybe 6 years ago, and it was a picture of a refrigerator, one of these smart fridges, and it said, "We're sorry, your access to food has been restricted because you watched Alex Jones on InfoWars."
My God, that's not too far off.
We're very close now. Anyway.
Sorry to bum you guys out. We can turn it around, right? Thanks,
Turn it
Jeremy David.
around.
Trade deal. Biden gets to control my car, but I get to control his pacemaker. I think that's fair. And I get to control how many stairs he walks up every day. Thanks, germs.
That's a good deal.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be interesting. I hope it gets better. But I think you're right. Focusing on your local elections. Don't just
Yes.
disregard it. I know it's
I'll
boring.
tell you
You
2
gotta get into
great
it.
stories to turn around real quick.
Okay.
There are 2, cities in Texas that have turned around the school boards, and both of them are currently the subject of a lot of national media attacks. There's an NBC News podcast about each of these towns. One is called Southlake, and
Ooh, I know South Lake.
you know Southlake, Texas?
Yes, I've done an F-45 class there.
Okay. Wait, what kind of class?
F-45, I'm obsessed. It's like CrossFit, but not as hardcore. It's like
Oh,
you do,
cool.
stations, it's like 45 minutes. You just show up and you're guaranteed like a really good sweat, a really good workout. They have some days they're just cardio, some days they're just weights, and some days that are like a hybrid. And it's basically like circuit training, but it's like no frills. It's not like what's that one for the fatties? curves. It's not like that at
Orange
all. It's kind
something.
of bare bones. Yeah, it is kind of like Orange Theory a little bit. I love it. It's actually an Australian brand. It was voted, I think, like best gym, and I think maybe Consumer Reports or something like that, like best gym in America. I'm a big fan.
I have to look it up. Well, there is this place called South Lake, Texas. There's also another NBC News podcast called Grapevine about the other state, and both of these are like scare podcasts where they basically try and paint all the parents in these towns just being these backwards bigots who are racist and homophobic and all this stuff. But I listened to them and they were actually great to listen to, although not for the reasons they intended. They made these podcasts for a blue city leftist to listen to and just look down their nose at these parents. But the reason why I like them is because they told the story of how these parents took their school boards back. They
Ooh.
organized, they kicked ass, and they dominated. And so both of these podcasts are sort of like, what are we going to do? Like, what if this spreads? And they've done 2 cities now. And if you're in a town that's being taken over by woke ideology in your kids' schools or whatever, if you're in a small town and you can see it coming, I would say go and study what these 2 places did. There's lots of information online. They even make materials readily available of the stuff they did to get organized, but they kicked
Ooh.
butt and they replaced the woke school board members with parents who actually want to put education first. And I'm
What a
really
concept.
proud. I know, right? I got to interview 2 of the people who are doing a GCISD news site now that tells all the news about the school board. And it's so funny because I'd been reading a lot and listening to a lot about, this was Grapevine Colleyville School District. I've been reading a lot and listening to a lot. And like I said, the podcast is like painting all these parents as these crazy, white supremacist rednecks, whatever. Both the guys I talked to when they show up for the interview, neither one of them is white. Okay. They're both, one is a first generation immigrant. Like they're nothing like they're being portrayed. It's like they just want their kids to go to school to learn English, math,
Be
science, like
something
basic.
other than gay and trans. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe be a plumber. Who knows? The sky is the limit. That's good.
Yeah, that's some good news.
Very
Go
good.
hate listen to this podcast.
Now I
You'll
feel
get
better.
excited.
Thank you, Keri. Oh my gosh, you're a delight. Where can people find you, Keri? What is coming up? Yeah, and I hope you do more of these Jubilee panels. You were just great on it.
Oh, thank you so much, lady. Yeah, so you can check out that episode if you want to see the one we were talking about. It's on the Jubilee channel and it's their Middle Ground series. And that just came out yesterday, I think it was.
Mhm.
You can find me at Deprogrammed with Keri Smith here on YouTube. And most recently, I've been covering this story out of Alabama, this perverted pastor and mayor who unalived himself after it was revealed that he was writing all kinds of disgusting porn about women and children in his town and posting their images and stuff. So I've done a couple of videos on him. I can't stop thinking about it because the media is lionizing this guy right now. They're completely painting it as, this poor innocent trans woman got
Right.
outed. It's like, no, they're not even reporting on the porn and the
He
women
was
and children.
depraved and
Yes.
messed in the head.
Yes, messed in the head. So,
Ugh.
wait, I brought it back down again. Anyway, I've been covering that guy. So, yeah, you can find me at Deprogrammed. And if you want to read more about that story, yeah, I recommend checking it out because I've never seen the national media carry water for someone of this small stature. Like, sure, they carry water for Hunter Biden and whatever people, but this guy's just like
That's
a
to be
mayor of
expected.
some town, this
Yeah.
little town, and
Just
they're just
any old
all
trans person
and all the media is just like
gets the
whitewashing
full
it.
support of the media. Wow.
Yeah, it's
Oh, a
crazy.
couple more supers. Thank you from JB. Saw Keri on Nina Infinity's Halloween stream, but didn't know much about her. I've been seeing her name pop up more and more. Thanks for having her on and introducing her to us. Thank you, JB.
Thank you so much.
You. The N7 Spartan. I haven't forgotten about the COVID mandates. Me neither, buddy. The government is going to rot in the afterlife for that one. and there's got to be a way to bypass the car kill switches without bricking the car. Thoughts? I bet a mechanic could figure that out.
Yes.
Get to know a
Yes.
mechanic friend in the next couple of years. That's everyone's goal.
It's like with the guns in California, every time they would come up with some new ban, and then the gun guys would just figure out a fix around, like a way around it, like the bullet button and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Drive a Model T. Fountainhead again. Hello, Fountainhead. Keri, who's the funniest woman ever? I say it's Gilda Radner. What people in comedy have influenced you? Do you like Monty Python's Flying Circus?
Of course, I love Monty Python. They were way ahead of their time.
So
Sort of
funny.
criticizing this madness that we see today. Yeah, I love Gilda Radner. I remember watching some old SNL VHS tapes of the best of Gilda Radner, and just all the fake commercials she would do, like the Soup Man Says
Mhm.
and Jewish jeans. She did it was like Jordache jeans, but had the Star of David on the butt, and she would turn around like Jewish jeans.
Wow.
She was hilarious.
God,
Carol Burnett.
what the fuck was her name? She's so funny. She's a lesbian. She might still be on SNL, or maybe she just left. She's blonde. Wow, her name escapes me. I have a pregnant brain. What the heck is her name? She's a lesbian. She was on SNL. I'm just Googling lesbian on SNL. Kate McKinnon.
Kate
Kate
McKinnon.
McKinnon. So funny.
She's so funny.
So
Yes.
talented.
Oh, I didn't know she was lesbian. Yeah, she's really funny. I don't like the old stuff. Yeah, Carol Burnett. I mean, even I Love Lucy. I love watching some of those old clips sometimes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's still funny. It holds up.
Yeah. Funny doesn't age out. Oh, it's push-ups.
Funniest
Funniest
woman
woman
ever.
ever is Chrissy, followed by Lila. Wow, thank you, push-ups. I did not pay him to say that. Thank you, push-ups.
You make me laugh all the time, not just on
Aw.
your shows, but you're also wickedly funny on Twitter, which is a different kind of skill, and you can do both, and not everybody can do
Aw.
both.
It helps with joke writing because you have to be succinct with writing a joke and also with writing a good tweet.
Yeah. It's a different kind of art, and it's just I love when you were trolling Keith Olbermann.
Oh my god, he trolled me first.
Yeah, I know.
He was triggered by my chicken joke.
He does what is it with him? He does all of his videos with the camera, like, right here.
It's too
It's so
close.
up close. It's something
doesn't
wrong with him.
He does not know his angles. He needs a handler. He needs help. Keri, you're the best. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Chrissy.
As always, everyone follow Keri. You're an idiot if you don't follow Keri.
Aw.
In fact, unfollow me and follow Keri. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all the super chats. And also, FYI, I was going to interview Steve Inman tomorrow, but that will be moved to next Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So heads up there. And then, yeah, I'll see you guys on Friday Night Tights this Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Woohoo.
Thank you guys. I'll see you soon.